Market to Market is everywhere you are. Subscribe to Market on YouTube, find us on the PBS video app to stream on demand, and add our 3 podcasts on your favorite podcasting app. The Ori family usually waits for spring before applying nitrogen-based fertilizer to their fields, but the recent spike in anhydrous ammonia and other fertilizer prices convinced the Earlham, Iowa row crop and cattle producers to make time last week.
Fertilizer's gone through the roof, and kind of why we're going after it as fast as we can now, make sure we get what we locked in to try and help secure profits or make next year more profitable.
Ori says they pre-purchased anhydrous ammonia in the summer, anticipating a supply crunch. But that price lock was dependent on application being completed before year's end.
That's kind of why the rush now for what prices have gone to, and make it pretty difficult to get excited about next year. The ones that I talked to that hadn't locked in seemed a little nervous, hoping for maybe some better stuff in the spring.
The USDA's Illinois Production Cost Report from November 4th shows that anhydrous ammonia, a nitrogen-based fertilizer, hit an average of $1,205 per ton, just exceeding the prices reported in 2008. Prices for other fertilizer ingredients and blends have also climbed dramatically.
Starting out in June, July, when we had preseason prices, they were already high. And then going on throughout the season of prepay, trying to get people to commit to a price then. And then they just keep going up and up and up. But now it's at an all-time high that I've at least seen, and that most of the growers that I deal with have seen in their lifetimes. I think every farmer's used to a little bit of uncertainty, but everybody's a little bit more stressed right now.
The commodity prices in most of the major grain markets have helped better position farmers to face this kind of financial challenge. But Brigham with Landis says many are analyzing spreadsheets as they decide how to balance against increased input prices, particularly if chemicals and seed prices also run high in the spring. The uncertainty of government support going forward makes planning even more difficult. U.S. net farm income in 2020 featured the highest percentage of government funds in recent history at 39%. That number is projected to be down in 2021 as COVID-related payments fall off. But the plans for 2022 support remain uncertain.
The things that they can rely on and focus on are their input costs, anywhere from fungicide to your fertilizer, your seed. You got to have that all down pat, because that is something that you can control. And then the uncontrollables like government subsidies and Mother Nature, you just kind of got to roll with the punches on those.
The owner of another retail provider of agricultural fertilizer and other supplies, Ag Hub Midwest, based near Menlo, Iowa, agreed that farmers are at least discussing planting less corn, a crop where nitrogen application is more critical.
A lot of guys are taking a look at crop rotation, maybe not doing the corn on corn, maybe looking at a few more soybean acres.
However, both men advised not rushing any decisions.
There's a lot of instances that are, 3 times the cost per N unit, and it's a big sticker shock. And just trying to work through that with growers to regroup and put a plan together.
Samuel Taylor, Executive Director of Research for Farm Inputs at Rabobank, said the pattern shift began in the spring.
But right up until about May of this year, there was quite a nice trend line where commodity prices and fertilizer prices moved in a relative lockstep. I'd say since May, you've seen a fall off in the corn and soybean price. And at that point, you've seen a relative dislocation between the price of fertilizers and the price of commodities. And that's kind of shifted the affordability of a lot of these inputs.
Taylor, based in New York, said most of the causes are related to various public policy decisions, both in the U.S. and elsewhere.
You look for things like sanctions on the Belarusian potash production, which accounts for about 13 million metric tons globally. You look at other threats of or risks of countervailing duties to products. You look at energy costs, so that's both in China and in Europe, particularly on the nitrogen side. And then you look at other issues like the export limitations on phosphates and urea. So you've gone from, let's say, August of last year through to May of this year, a demand-driven market. And then all of a sudden, from about May onwards, you've really gone into a supply-constrained market.
The market for natural gas, which accounts for 60% or more of the cost of producing anhydrous ammonia, is one of the key factors indirectly driving up nitrogen prices.
What you saw in Europe was you saw high natural gas prices curtail massive amounts of production. Millions of metric tons of capacity coming offline. I think it's something like 12% of ammonia production in Europe come offline, 25% curtailed.
Taylor says farmers may be able to shift money they've set aside for new farm machinery if it's unavailable due to supply chain or labor issues. However, he also encourages farmers to explore new options for boosting income, whether that's trying an alternative crop or participating in the government's carbon sequestration programs.
Farmers, and I include my septuagenarian father in this, farmers like to do what they like to do. And sometimes you need a kind of a glaring opportunity, but there is still the potential for growers to basically be rewarded for what they do best with historical things. I mean, if you look at things like the scorecard system on a lot of the carbon sequestration, rewarding you for no-tilling. Farmers have been no-tilling for a long time. Why not get a little bit extra on that? I try and think of something positive for growers for the 2022 season. Let's hope for good weather. Should we say that?
For Market to Market, I'm Colleen Bradford Krantz.